දායකදායිකා පිරිස කෙරෙහි අනුකම්පාවෙන් කැටි අනුශාසනාවක් සිදු කිරීමට ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් යුතුව පූජ්‍ය බත්තරමුල්ලේ අමාදස්සන ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේට ආරාධනා කර සිටිනවා. අවසරයි ස්වාමින් වහන්සේ.
Now, let's hear from Venerable Battaramulle Amadasana Theru, who will deliver a brief discourse in English. With your permission, Venerable Sir.
அந்த மாதிரி நம்மளுக்காக ஆங்கிலத்தில் சிறிய போதனை பண்ணதுக்கு நம்மளோட பத்தர்முல்லே அமாதசன துருவிக்கு கௌரவத்தில் அழைக்கின்றோம்.
Permission from the Most Noble Triple Gem and the congregation of the Mahasangha. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to a very important moment of this evening's proceedings. As you know, what we have begun this evening, or what we will begin shortly, we will continue until tomorrow's dawn, leading into the offering of the Katina robe, which you as our devotees of the monastery and those who are devoted to the Buddha Sasana look forward to making as an offering to the Buddha Sasana, in the hope that this earns you lots of merits on your path to salvation and ultimate bliss. You may wonder what significance Pirit chanting holds to us as we make our journey to Nibbana. The word Pirit has a meaning of protection. I think this is something that most of you will be aware of. So the question should arise in your minds, what is it that we need protection from? Why do we need protection? And what protection can the Noble Triple Gem offer us? You understand that normally in the world out there, protection is offered in various means. People carry arms to protect themselves. They hire security services to protect themselves. They build walls to protect themselves, and metal gates, locks and keys, these are the things that are synonymous with protection. But how do we protect ourselves, and what protection is important and significant on our path to Nibbana? What is it that we need protection from? Why do we chant? Why do we recite? Why do we reflect on something that we believe brings us protection? What is that protection that we need? I think to find an answer to this question, I just would invite you to look into your own lives. What do you think you need protection from? What is it that has been your source of misery, your source of discontentment, your source of vexation? What is it that you have always needed protection from? When there are things in life that you come across and you feel that you need them, I think it doesn't need me or my spelling out to you that when there are things in life that you need, you can't stop yourself from wanting them. And so the rat race begins. Day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Just take account of how many years you have spent by this point trying to run and pursue the things that, or run after and pursue the things that you wanted, you needed, you desired in your life, all the while feeling helpless and hopeless in the face of them. As you reflect on this, I think you must begin to understand what it is that you probably need protection from. So these are the things that you like, these are the things that you want, the things you desire. Then there's another side. In just the way that we have friends in this world, we also have enemies. I'm talking about people in general. Most of you may not have enemies now. But in general, people have enemies. And people believe that these enemies, these forces, adversarial forces, they come in the shape of humans, non-humans, and various other forces of nature. And so people seek protection from them. What people don't understand is, in whatever shape or form these threats come from or come in, they can only attack someone who is present. These forces can only attack you if you are there when they come back to you. And something that they also forget is there's a phenomenon, a principle that governs all things in this world, and that is what you do is what you give is what you get. What you do, you have to suffer the consequences of those deeds. People tend to forget that it is what they have done to others. People forget that it is what they have done to the rest of the world, to this universe, that comes back to bite them on their backs. So then I ask you the question, what is it that you need protection from? Then there's another aspect. When people feel that they have to compete with others, so that they come out victorious and others are defeated. Or when they feel that they are smaller than others or bigger than others, when they have to compare themselves to others, again they feel that they need some kind of protection because they feel vulnerable. So when do we need protection? We need protection when we feel vulnerable. We need protection when we feel victimized. So how then does the Noble Triple Gem offer us that refuge? How is it that the Noble Triple Gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, offer us respite? Those of you who have been listening to these sermons for a while now will understand that the core of Buddhist teaching, the essence of Buddhist philosophy, is to free oneself from none other than oneself. So who do we need protection from then? Our protection, we need protection, ladies and gentlemen, from ourselves, no one else. Because it is our own actions that determine our future. What you think, what you speak, and what you do today will determine your tomorrow. So if you want to be protected tomorrow, what do you think is the most appropriate and best course of action? What do you think is the purpose? What do you think is suited? What do you think is fitting? For one who seeks to protect themselves, who do you think they need to go to? And what course of action do you think they ought to take? In the words that you will be hearing tonight, as the morning unfolds on us, you will hear the teachings of the Buddha. These are teachings of no other than the Buddha. The Buddha in his infinite compassion and his limitless wisdom. He comes into this world and he makes a discovery. He goes on an exploration and he makes a discovery with help from no one else. Because he himself wanted the answer to this question, how do we protect ourselves? In the face of adversity, how do we protect ourselves? In the face of threats and challenges, how do we protect ourselves? So he went on this journey. He had a father, a great king, almost an emperor. And he, as a king, also knew how to protect his kingdom and his subjects. And so for that, as any good king would do, he would have had an army of soldiers, an army of elephants, an army of horses. He would have had an army to protect himself and his loyal subjects. But this king, our king, King Siddhartha, who went on to become King Gautama, our king, this king also, as any good king should do, looked for protection. He went out seeking protection. How do we protect ourselves? And so under that Bodhi tree, 2,500 years ago, he discovered that there's only one force of nature that we need to protect ourselves from, and that is a force that comes from within, not without. That is ignorance and attachment, as you will know by now. So in these words, in the scriptures that you will hear recited out to you, you will hear the formulae, the sutras. These are formulas. In these formulae will be contained the recipe for protection. You will hear the Buddha's description, his exposition of anicca. You will hear how he explained and expounded the phenomenon of dukkha and the truth of anatta. The three words that grant you protection from all evil forces, not out there, but inside you. If you can master these teachings, if as you today recite as well as listen to these scriptures, these teachings, and contemplate on these three words and what they mean to you, then who do you need to go running to for protection? In the face of adversity, in the face of threats and challenges, when desire comes to get the better of you, when aversion tries to topple you, when delusion tries to delude you, who do you need to go to protection or for protection? In these words, you will find the answers. And that is why once or twice every year, we get together as a family, as the Mahasangha, and as all of us, you as devotees, not just those who join us at the monastery, but also all of you who have joined us from far across the oceans. Because it matters not who you are, whether you are donned in a robe or dressed in a tie and suit, we all need protection. If you are a sentient being, if you have a mind, and a mind that is susceptible to ignorance and attachment, then of course you need protection. The difference between you and I, perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, is I have dedicated my life. The monks that you see around you here, the anagarikas, the anagarikas that you see around you here, these little children who sit in front of the Pirit Mandapa, those who are of noble hearts, the Sila Shravakas, the Shravikas, and the Sila Vesis, and you all, of course, as Upasakas and Upasikas. We all come here seeking protection. By here, I mean the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. This is the only refuge that we have. So seek no other refuge. How do we know that this is the only refuge we have? Just look around you, not here, but outside these four walls. Read the newspapers, watch the television. Look at what's going on out there. It only takes you 15 minutes of just driving around, getting into your car and just driving down street, looking around you to understand how much evilness is going on out there, how much destruction is going on out there. Because people need protection. They think that protection they need to achieve from the forces that come from outside. So therefore, they think of their friends as enemies. They think of their fellow brothers as evil people trying to take away their happiness. So therefore, they are engaged in a war, in a battle. People fight with each other. Neighbors fight with each other. Siblings fight with each other. Countries, nations fight with each other. And before long, you will hear of world's intergalactic wars. It's only a matter of time. As soon as we get to hear that there are aliens out there, one of these days, then we will have to protect ourselves from them as well, just as much as they'll want to protect themselves from us. Because it matters not what shape or size you come in, as long as there's a mind within you that is susceptible to ignorance and attachment. Protection becomes an innate requirement. This is why there's only one path to free yourselves. Free yourselves from the need for protection. It is not something for us to boast that we can protect ourselves. building walls around us, and ironclad gates with locks and keys and cameras all around us. People think that they are protected, they feel they're protected, but alas, you only need protection from yourself. The great Arahants, the great Arahant Theris, none of them needed protection from the outside because they were protected within. So that is the significance of today's session, the spirit chanting. It is not just a chanting. What I invite you to do is to reflect on these words as best as you can. Now, granted, these words are not going to be in English, and they're not going to be in Sinhalese either. Because to preserve the integrity, to preserve the authenticity of his teaching, our forefathers, our ancestors, they have painstakingly ensured that his message has been carried down verbatim in the very words that he uttered. By he, of course, I mean our great father, the father of the Sihela clan. So I invite all of you to try and read into what these words entail. Try and grasp what meaning they have. How does it relate to you? And as you reflect on these words, try and seek protection. Once again, not from outside. Because the forces that are out to get you are all within you. Desire, aversion, and delusion is what we need protection from. Not from someone else, not from the person sat next to you, behind you, or ahead of you. It's not from your classmates or your work colleagues. It's not from people of the other party. If you're white, it's not from the blacks, and if you're black, it's not from the whites. You need protection. You need protection from yourselves. That is why in this philosophy, in this teaching, we understand the path to free ourselves from ourselves. So that is what we'll be doing tonight. We'll be uttering and reciting these most profound words, which will have the method, the principles, the teachings, the instruction, the guidance that will help us to achieve that. So for those of you who are wise, which I'm sure is all of you, I invite you to reflect on the depth of these words. Reflect on their meaning as people who have been listening to these sermons, the talks from Guru Swamin Wahanse, as well as other monks from the monastery. Contemplate on these words. Try and reflect on their meaning as much as you possibly can. And then try and assimilate them. Instill them within your own minds. Make a resolve that when you leave tonight, or when you leave tomorrow morning, you will leave feeling protected. Then your attendance here, and you're taking part in this evening's proceedings, this session, the spirit chanting, will have been productive. Finally, not just the spirit chanting today, there's of course going to be the cut in a robe offering tomorrow, which brings tremendous amounts of merits to all those who are involved. Perhaps you may not get the opportunity to physically or directly engage with them, but you are all connected, because it is not what you do with your two hands that bring you merits, it's what you do in your mind. Your intention is what is important. So even if you're not able to be here today, perhaps you're watching this on a TV screen, over the internet, rejoice in these merits. Become part of this. Unite with us. Virtually hold hands with us and be part of this wonderful occasion. We will all be earning a lot of merits this evening. I want all of you to be part of that, be involved in that, wholeheartedly. Now that you're here, be here. And by the power of all these merits that we'll be accumulating, all of us, throughout this evening to tomorrow morning, and all of the other meritorious activities that will follow, by the power of all those merits and the blessings of the Mahasangha, may all of you, may all of us, everyone who's been involved in this so far, and perhaps we'll even witness this on a recording sometime in the future, maybe years from today. May we all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may any who would have enjoyed or would have liked to join in these merits, but unfortunately have been born in the woeful plains, be able to redeem themselves from those woeful plains so that they can join us, become part of our army to their salvation. And then those of you who are fortunate enough to be with us, may we all rejoice in these merits, and by the power of these merits, may we all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So with those words, I shall conclude for today. I want you all to be part of this and aspire, firmly determined, firmly resolved, for all the merits that you earn from this evening to contribute towards your salvation and your Nibbana. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all.